Hey LHS, and welcome to the January edition of Book Talk. This month I decided to talk to you about my favorite type of book, and it's called dystopian. Dystopian books take place typically in an alternate time, whether it be, it's usually in the future, and they're actually kind of a subgenre of science fiction. So I definitely call myself a science fiction reader, but I prefer more than anything dystopian books. The first book I ever read that I just truly fell in love with was in 8th grade, and it was called The Giver, and it's a dystopian book. After that, I read Fahrenheit 451, and I was hooked. Since then, I have absolutely loved the Hunger Games series, Divergent series, Maze Runner series. Those are some of my favorite ones that I've ever read. And so I'm going to talk to you about some other dystopian books today. So in dystopian books, they typically take place in the future, and they usually have an overpowering government or society is kind of falling apart and it's a disaster and people are killing to get basic supplies, or there's lots of variations on it. But it actually is the opposite of utopian. So a utopian society is a perfect society where everything is exactly as it should be. A dystopian society is the opposite of that, where things are corrupt or unsafe and in general society isn't functioning as it should. So that's my favorite genre, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about this month. The first one is called Matched. Now I want you to notice that several of these books I'm going to talk to you about have this symbol on the side. That means Gateway Readers Award. What that means is that these books have been read by thousands of librarians, teachers, and students all over the state of Missouri, and these have been chosen as the top books for high schoolers from that year. So this actually happens to be 2012-2013. This was a nominee that year. So this is Matched by Ali Condi. It's the first in a trilogy, so there's 3 books in the series. And the main character's name is Cassia. She lives in a perfect society, so it seems. When you turn 15, you get to pick out your colored dress and go to your matching party. And every 15-year-old is in that room in your area. And up on the screen, they show you who your match is. And the government has chosen for you the person you are going to marry. And so she waits, who is it? Who's going to be my husband? And flashes up there her best friend. And she's so excited. She's known him her whole life. So it's super exciting to be marrying her best friend from down the street, because most people get matched with someone across the country. And so she gets a little disc to go home and put in her computer and learn more about her match, which most people need because they don't know their match. So she goes home just for fun, plugs it in, and there's a different boy on there. And it's a boy she kind of knows from school, but it doesn't make sense. And very quickly, the government officials show up, and they're like, oh, just pay no attention, that was just a mistake. But she can't help but wonder, is she supposed to be with that other boy? And so begins the search for questions, a love triangle, and a very sketchy government. So that is Matched. This next book, I love this author. Her name is Marie Lu, and she wrote the Legend series, which I fell in love with several years ago. This one's called Sky Hunter. It's the first book in 2 so far. I'm not sure if she's done with this series. So the main character fights in the resistance, fighting against the overly corrupt government who's coming in and taking over every little area. And suddenly, a creature, a fighter with wings, flies through the sky and is captured, and he's been augmented by the government. He's been changed. He's full of metal and wings, and he's a war-fighting machine, and he becomes captured. And our main character, Talon, saves his life. And she ends up being very curious about him. She's drawn to him, and she can't figure out why, even though he's clearly working for the wrong government. And it's got a love story between Talon and the Sky Hunter. And you learn about how sad his life was before he was turned into this creature, and her battle to save him and save the land she loves. So this is Sky Hunter. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk to you about this month also was a Gateway Award nominee several years ago. This one's called Starters by Lissa Price. And this book is a duology, meaning there's just 2 books, Starters and Enders. This is one of the most interesting concepts I think I've ever read in a book. So basically, our setting picks up right after what's called the Spore Wars, where everyone between the age of 20 and 60 has died due to mechanical or viruses warfare. And so the only people left on the planet are over 60 or under 20. And so our main character, Callie, she's kind of left taking care of her younger brother. And, you know, she's young. She doesn't have a lot of things. And so she goes to this company to make money. And what this company does is they put a microchip in the head of like 17 and 18-year-olds and then connect them to a computer. And an elderly person who would be, 70 can click into the chip and basically take on the life of this young person for a day. They can feel young again. They can climb mountains, ride bikes, go to parties, dance, do all the things that you could do with a young person's body. They're basically living in the young person's body for a day. And the young person can make quite a bit of money renting out their consciousness for the day. And seems like a great way for her to get enough money to keep her little brother alive and safe. So she goes in, signs up, and rents out her existence basically for a day. Except something goes terribly wrong. And she wakes up in the life of the elderly person who was using her existence, her body. And definitely it is not what it is supposed to be. Things are not okay. And so she begins investigating this company. This one definitely leans more towards the science fiction side of dystopian. It's dystopian because society's messed up because of the virus that killed all the people and society's not stable. But it definitely leans more towards the science fiction side because it's using technology that we don't have today and really leans heavy into the technology piece in this duology. So that's the starters. If these books interest you, you have to know that you should always come talk to me when you're looking for a new book because I have read about everything out there in the dystopian category and am always reading new ones. I mean, I just read this one not long ago, great standalone dystopian. This one, great series. This one, real good sci-fi if you want to go harder that direction. I mean, you guys, I love this genre. So if you're interested, stop by, come talk to me, and we'll help you find a good book. Thanks for joining us for the January edition of Book Talk. And remember, always be a reader.